In a lecture about the First World War and literature, the professor wondered aloud why we nostalgically look back on the generation of young men shot to pieces on the battlefield. Surely it wasn't death and destruction we longed for. Yet there remains a romantic veil over these men, barely 20, that never got to grow older. At the same time, we debate the problematic aspects of romanticizing what has become heaps of dead artists, musicians, and actors who have said their farewells, often by choice, before the age of 30, preferably 27. There is nothing romantic about dying young, we say. Nothing good about a young artist struggling so badly that he chooses to shoot himself or overdose on liquor and sleeping pills. But it isn't death we romanticize when we nostalgically look back at those who never got to grow old. It is youth itself. They performed the great feat of being exactly like us, yet having lived long ago. A generation of youth that never got around to doing what every generation is bound to do: disappoint the generation that follows. Annie Adenor writes in The Years of how open for new thoughts and ideas they reckoned themselves to be when they were young. I cannot say much about what Adenor thinks about present world issues, but she was born in 1940, a part of our grandparents' generation, and the ideas of that generation as a whole can through youthful eyes be deemed a disappointment. But the soldier of 18 that bled to death at Verdun in 1916 never got the chance to fall behind. Neither did the artist of 27 that did the very same thing in his own apartment a few decades later. That is why we can still relate to them. We can imagine them agreeing with our view of the world. They never reached the age where walls are built to keep progressive ideas at bay. We look to the youth of the 60s and 70s with awe, but it is difficult to ignore that many still live and now gladly worship a cross proclaiming climate change to be a hoax. We relate more to Kurt Cobain than we do our fathers, though they were born a couple years apart. Of course we do. Kurt Cobain is forever 27. My father is 54. It is not death but potential we put on pedestals, which in those who die young remain constant. Perhaps Jimi Hendrix had done his part. We cannot be certain he would have produced more good music. There is no guarantee that Sylvia Plath would have had more great literature up her sleeve. But the potential is there till the end of time. To live long is only to be given a chance to not live up to it. Of course, we shouldn't romanticize bad mental health or dying young, but it is just as obvious that those who do die young forever remain veiled in nostalgia. It doesn't matter if they're killed in war or OD in a hotel room. It is the nature of society to idolize those who die young, because being an idealist usually is reserved for the young. Kurt Cobain remains an icon not because he died at the age of 27, but because he forever remains 27 in the collective consciousness. It would have been harder to relate if he was still alive, just turned 55, and accused of groping a 17-year-old. It is inevitable that society romanticizes those who die young. That is not the same as romanticizing the act of dying young. They represent the constant and repetitive potential that belongs to youth, never getting the chance to disprove themselves. And little can compete with the idea of what could have been.